furthermore, where do you live? Do you go to school, uni? How old you are? You go for it. We'll go with Chalaka and Ikechi first, and then Adriel next.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Chalaka, and I live in West Midlands. Should I say the actual town? Yeah, Dudley. So not Birmingham, but it's basically Birmingham. So we're Brummies. We'll say we're Brummies for now. And I'm in university. I go to Coventry University studying computer science, and I'm 20. I can't remember all the rest of the parts, but yeah, that's me. I'm Chalaka.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ikechi, and I go to Coventry University. I've been studying law for the past 3 years. As he said, we live in Dudley. Well, my home is in Dudley. I live in Coventry at the moment, but my home is in Dudley. And yeah, because he stopped there, I'm gonna stop there because I've also forgotten the rest of the questions. But yeah.
Fabulous, guys. Adriel?
Yeah, so I'm Adriel. I've got you guys said you did first now. I feel like I should go off the same format as well. I'm from Nottingham. My home is in Nottingham, but I too live in Coventry right now. I also go to Coventry University, which is quite cool. We all go to the same university, but we're studying different things. Ketchy forgot to say what he studies. That's what it was. You've got to say what you study. But I'm studying physiotherapy there.
Oh, law. I don't know if I said it. Law. Yeah, law.
Oh, maybe he did and I just missed it. So that's my bad. But anyway, yeah, I'm studying physiotherapy right now. I'm a first year physiotherapist. I'm 18 years old, and yeah, I've been a pastor's kid basically all my life, I think. Yeah, so that's probably me. Yeah,
Oh, that was maybe was that another question that he had?
That could have been.
Did we add that?
How long is it?
Yeah, go for it.
11?
They're doing the mathematics. They're doing the mathematics.
11 years?
Since 2010, so 11 years.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, welcome, guys. And we actually look forward to, and as well as a lot of people will be viewing this, so we'll be looking forward to what it really is like to be a pastor's child. I don't really know how to address it, but I look forward in hearing your testimony. So I would like to hand it over to Chalaka and Ikechi, and then after your testimony, guys, we'll go into the discussion with it. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, how should we handle this? So would you like to talk about, I mean, we're brothers, but obviously I guess we have different perspectives. So would you like to go first with how it's been for you, and then I'll say, and then.
Okay, so starting from, so we're pastor's kids. Our father is Pastor Obi, or Pastor Obinya Ihoma. So, but he's a Birmingham region pastor, and we address ourselves as pastor's kids. So, I'm not really bothered by the term pastor's kid personally. I don't know about you, bro, or Adi. I don't know about you. I kind of like the term PK because it's easy to just cover. Like it's not really male PK, female PK, or PK. But then there's the issue of the ministerial leaders' kids aren't technically pastor's kids, and then there's a whole confusion there. But besides that, yeah, I like being a PK. At first, it was a bit daunting. Even though I was young, going into it, it still felt very daunting. Like, okay, so my dad's the pastor now. We're no longer elder kids or deacon kids. We're pastors. Whew. But when you're actually living through it, it's not as daunting as it seems at first. So I think a lot of families are probably scared of entering in the ministry just because of that. It's not as bad as it seems. But so I've liked being a PK so far. Has had some parts where like some people may expect certain things from you, but I kind of like it.
So like he said, personally, I'm always speak for all the the plethora of different pastors' kids and ministerial children, but being called a PK doesn't quite faze me. I don't know. I feel like it's a label, but labels are labels because that happens to be who you are. So I mean, yeah, I am a pastor's child, therefore I'm a PK, and it doesn't really faze me. I guess it's not something that I keep low key, but I don't lead with that aspect of me. If someone meets me for the first time, my first thing to say is not, oh, hi, my name's Akechi, I'm a pastor. Like, it's just Akechi. And if they happen to ask, you know, about a bit further into me, I'll be like, oh yeah, also my dad is a minister, he's a pastor. Like my brother said, I would say that being a pastor's kid, it's not been terrible or anything like that. It is somewhat daunting, especially when we first started out. I think I'm sure Adriel will have a different story because he was kind of born into the ministry. But for me, my brother, it was like dad was just dad for almost a decade, and then one day it was, oh, that's pastor. You know what I mean? And yeah, that was a switch. That was a switch. And then there's a whole part about you go from being a part of one community to another community, which whether that is how it should be is, I don't know, neither here or there, but that's kind of how it is. It's like you go from being a part of the general group of kids at your church or in churches worldwide to being a part of a different group, so to speak. So fitting in and whatever, that was new as well. But yeah, I say it came with its challenges, but overall, it's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
Yeah. Wow. So for me, yeah, like they've mentioned, I actually said that earlier. I was born a pastor's kid pretty much. My dad, my parents met when my dad was actually studying at Newbold, and he went over to the university in Croatia where my mum was. And yeah, so like my dad was always in the ministry, and I was born several years later, and my dad was already a pastor at that time. And then literally maybe 2 years into my life, my dad moved into ministerial roles as well. So my whole life has pretty much been pastor's kid, like that's been my entire experience. So I don't really know much about, you know, being just being like I would say a normal SDA kid and then being a pastor's kid. Like it's just been the case to me, and for me that is normal. It is normal. And in terms of, you know, the whole, you know, fitting into the group of pastors' kids, it's like when I was younger, most of my good friends would be from my local church, and then whenever there'd be events, I'd also have, you know, one of my best friends growing up was also a pastor's kid. So it's just been so normal to me. It's only when I grew up a little bit, when I was like maybe 10, that I realized, oh, like, you know, my dad's Pastor Hush, and like his dad isn't a pastor. His dad, he's just his dad is SDA. Like it didn't click for me until I got a little bit older. I remember when I was little, like I was just friends with everyone, and plus because my dad was a pastor from when I was young, and he'd be traveling to different churches. Because for me, it wasn't like my dad was a church of a pastor over a district. My dad would be preaching in different churches as youth director, or he'd probably be running the events that you guys went to when you were like my age and younger, right? Because so like for me, I was just tagging along. That's what my experience was like I was just tagging along. Like I'd be so excited on Sabbath morning. I'd be like, hey mom, can I go with dad to this so and so church because I got a friend there, or because I got a friend there. So for me, it was like fun when I was young. Like it wasn't, I didn't really have any probably like struggles when I was like really young or anything like that. Like it was just a fun experience. It was my experience, you know. So that's been my early childhood. Later childhood, you know, you grow up, you realize certain things. You do realize that certain people do have some expectations of you, which are probably things that you didn't realize when you were younger because you were just a kid. For me anyway, but when I grew up, I realized, okay, so I do need to be mindful of the way I act. So I do need to be mindful of this because my dad is Pastor Hush. And oh yeah, also that's my dad. My dad is Pastor Hush. I've got to say, yeah. So that's kind of been my, you know, my kind of progressive experience. And then yeah, that's pretty much it to today. Today, I'm pretty young still compared to everyone here. Probably I'm only 18, so I'm just kind of teetering into the early stages of adulthood. But it's been I would say it's been a blessing. It's been a good journey. It's nothing. I haven't known anything other, and because this is who I am, I'm happy to be a pastor's kid, and I don't really think that the label has been like more of a curse to me than a blessing. It's just been my experience pretty much.
Yeah. Just to bounce off what Adi said, like I think that like, as you grow older, you do like the expectations defo become more apparent. And you know what, in a weird way, I don't know if you would agree with this, but maybe the expectations kicked in quite early for us because of it was a switch. I think because had we been born pastors' kids, it wouldn't have been apparent to me till a lot later that there were expectations of me, because it would have just been life. But it was life, and then 2010, Dad, we came out of Newbold and went to Scotland, which probably had an effect in its own way, because the location move, where we went, we were only known as pastors' kids. Where we came from, we were known as, Ikechi and Chilaka and whatever. But when we went, we were, oh, this is pastor's family, and these are pastor's children. And so from there, I think at least for me, from there, I kind of started feeling expectations from people, because they don't know me. There's no other context for them to know me in. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, before they know your name, they know you as pastors,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, actually. I've not really thought about that.
I never thought about that either. It's really interesting you said that, because now I'm thinking that's literally been like the case. I think that's probably the case for everyone, but especially in my case, because like everyone knows my dad. And it's like, oh, Pastor Hush's son. You know what I mean? Like, it's that. And again, it never really bothered me too much, I don't think. But it's just interesting that people like they're straight away, you're in a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Like, I think especially in the early stages, okay, for us, I remember as we're talking, I'm remembering like there were warnings. They were like, oh, you already know what they say about pastors' kids. You know what they get up to, this. And I was like,
I'm 11.
You know what I'm saying? I'm 11.
Oh, they get to the drugs.
And I'm like, my guy, I'm 10. I'm trying to get through my sets. Like, I'm not worried about, gallivanting and like, I think there was even a time, I think maybe around when I was like 15, 14, people were literally posted waiting, like, okay, where's the part where he becomes a prodigal son? Like, we're waiting for that part. Yeah. Like, there's a story arc that's kind of expected of you as a pastor's son. It's like, I don't know, because of who your dad is and the spiritual obligations, that he represents. There's an expectation that you won't hack it. That's the first expectation, is that you will not hack it. And the other one is that because you won't hack it, you will go astray. And then they wait for you to come back in like your late 20s or something like that. I don't know, that's kind of like the narrative.
I would argue that there's two extremes. Either this person's going to crumble, but I think that's going to be everybody in the church. Every youth in the church, there's an expectation of youth. Like, they might not have it, they might not be able to handle this. But yeah, so I'll say there's one that you'll crumble, or you'll do the other extreme where it's going to be completely exactly like his parents or her parents and follow the same path. They can be a pastor as well, and they go through the ministry. But yeah, so it's usually two extremes views.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. I know honestly, I'm sure Adriel and Chilaka and Ikechi can just be due to you guys three all day here.
Sorry,
No, it's calm. I was going to ask, I think, interesting guys saying that, because I only kind of thought of one extreme, which was the one where you kind of have to be always good, but I never really saw it as the other extreme. So you kind of having to battle through, you kind of have to battle through two different extremes. How does that kind of affect you in life? Because either people see you as going downhill and then maybe come back, if you come back, or into becoming a pastor. How do you kind of, is there balance? Is there somewhere you can be, like, where, or maybe where are you? If that, yeah, because that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a lot. But I think the first thing that I had to highlight in my life, so for me personally, was who I live for. So thankfully, I don't say I was raised right, because that sounds like braggadocious, but I thought I was raised right. I thought I was raised good. So
you're not too shabby.
You know what I'm saying? So like I was able to analyze who I want to live for. Am I living for myself? Am I living for my parents? Am I living for God? So once I realized, okay, me personally, I want to live for God. So then I put my standards where God would want me to put my standards. So then I'm no longer worried about if I'm not meeting this person's standards, because you're not giving me my standards. You've got nothing to do with my life. Like we interact, but you're not leading my life. So once I was able to analyze that for myself personally, I think it became easier not to worry too hard about seeing the extremes, because there's always going to be extremes. Wherever you go, Because when people first perceive you, the first expectation, they're going to try and fit you into a box that they can recognize for comfortability, just so they feel comfortable. But once they realize, okay, I see where you're going, and then it'll happen naturally, then they'll be like, okay, yeah, it's normal. What he's doing is normal. Then you become a norm to that person, and then they'll expect someone else to be like you. So yeah, so for me personally, once I was able to highlight where I wanted to go with life, it became easier. But yeah, I definitely battled. Definitely. Remember 13, 14, I was battling with the extremes, heavy. I remember that.
Yeah. Not to go over the same points, but I do believe that in trying to find a balance, it can be a bit difficult because it's not that you want to find. I think if, like you said, you're not straying away from the church, in a lot of people's eyes, you following God is to do what your dad did, which is interesting sometimes. Like, interestingly, like, so there's other avenues of ministry for other people. But if a pastor's child, it's almost like people see being a pastor's kid as being the son of a king. And because you're the son of a king, you must also one day rule. You know what I'm trying to say? But it's not how that's not how it works. Like spiritual obligations are not inherited. They're appointed, you're anointed by God. So it's not like, we're not like the Levites. I'm not born into a priesthood.
Yeah.
We're all a priesthood. Like, everybody on this call is a part of a priesthood, of a royal priesthood. And so sometimes when people, like, I remember expressing when I was like maybe 17 that to people that I was like, you know, I would like to take part in the ministry, but maybe not as a pastor, maybe as a I think, what is it I wanted to do? I can't remember what I wanted to do, but it was just another role in the ministry. And people looked at me puzzled, like, what? But why not? Why not just go be a pastor? Like, what? Like, why? And their head's gonna get around it. And I was like, well, why don't you be a pastor? Like, I was like, why are you not being a pastor? Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know, Adriel, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, man, about you actually mentioned the two extremes. I think sometimes I even put, sorry, my dog's making noises outside of my sister. Yeah, sometimes I think for me, I sometimes might have put those kind of thoughts like in my own head rather than even from somebody else. And maybe it's after somebody else said that, but I'd be thinking like, right, okay, I've been raised this way again from day dot. Like, my dad's been a pastor. I've had family worships every day, and I mean, we've already spoken this time, but like I from like the age of 0 have been taught about Samuel and King David and all these people, and I'd be thinking like, when I'm older, I can either go all the way this way or I can go all the way this way, and it's like I'm always putting myself in either going to either extreme where, you know, I need to. This would be like the kind of next step, which is maybe I just need to. God's taking me on a journey. Get me? It's my development, not my development in the light of my father. You know what I mean? So it's not like I need to either go the whole way where I now become the president of the Trans-European division, or I go the other extreme and do whatever. It's like, you know, sometimes not even other people, but I kind of put that on myself as well. I don't know if you guys kind of did that as well, but
yeah, I think so. Yeah, we definitely do. I'm sure there's more questions to come from the guys. So I'll just quickly say that like, I think we might even touch on this later, so let me not say too much. But the other thing that's sometimes very interesting, I think we might even discuss it as a 3 before a while back, that because, and I'm sure there's other SDAs or other Christians that have experienced this, but as a pastor's kid, you're expected, for one, to have a certain level of spiritual, biblical knowledge, which, to be fair, I'd say a lot of us will have.
It's not outrageous.
No, yeah, it's not outrageous
expectation. Yeah.
You know, as your dad's studying, you're learning too, because your parents are trying to drill you up because they know what people are going to expect from you. So I think the effect of that is that because there's a lot of things that we know very early on that I guess other people have, I don't know if you call it a privilege of getting to know by themselves a bit later, spiritually speaking. And what the effect of that is that it makes you quickly realize the responsibility behind knowledge. Like, once you have a certain level of knowledge, there's a lot of things that, like you said, you don't put expectations or pressures on you, but the Holy Spirit does. Does that make sense? I don't. Sometimes there's some things I've been like, oh, why do I feel pressure to do this? And I'm like, I can't blame anyone, but it's not even a blame. It's just, I know more. I know better. Do you know what I mean? I know better. So it's frustrating because you want to grow at the same pace as everyone else, but you're already grown.
Well, your pace is different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
And just one more thing I'd just like to bounce off. But even though that was the case from like when I was younger, for example, like what you were saying, like when I was in that younger Sabbath school, like you just, you know, maybe you know that little part of the story that the next person doesn't, and it's not a good thing or not a bad thing. But now that I've grown older, now that I've grown a little bit older now, there's been certain things that I've come across in Christianity and in the Bible that isn't due to what I learned in worship, which is it's because of my own reading. I'm sure you guys have these exact same things, and that's something that like applies to everybody. And that, I'm not lying, has been the biggest blessing. You know, like coming across these things like myself has been more of a blessing than ever hearing it from anyone else. You know, and that's something that everyone can have, pastor's kid or non-pastor's kid.
Yeah.
I like that. I think this this vibe is just amazing because we can tell you guys are friends. So it's just like, yeah, we could just sit back and just listen to the whole conversation. It's like a podcast. I like it. But there's a question on YouTube, so I thought I'd drop it in now before we get ours in. So someone on YouTube said, do you find that people don't really try and get to know you properly because they have assumptions of who you are or how you should be? And how do you deal with this pressure? So do you find that people don't get to know you properly for who you are, but they just have these assumptions of who you are, who you should be? And how do you deal with that pressure?
For me personally, I feel like sometimes it's the other way around. Like adults might want to get to know me more because of who I am. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that sounds bad, but you know, sometimes people can put people on a bit of a pedestal and like, oh, you know, like they just put him on a pedestal because my dad is who he is, you know, and people he's known or whatever, like, you know, oh, hello Adi, Pastor Hutchison, how are you, rah, rah, rah. And they just, you know, kind of want to start that conversation. So sometimes it's even the opposite. Like sometimes people will just assume bad things about you, like they were saying about, you know, oh, you're a pastor's kid, oh, okay, you must do this or must do that. But sometimes they're like, oh, you're a pastor's kid, okay, so, and then they just want to spark a conversation. I don't know what the right term of it would be, but sometimes people can just, you know, kind of put people on a pedestal, and for that reason they kind of want to get in. That's it. Maybe I don't know, they feel like there's something to get into when really there isn't really.
Yeah. It's true.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally what you just touched on there is perfect, because in my head it's my closest started ticking. One thing that people also do when they try to get, like, by force, they'll try and get to know you, and it tends to be like not like for gossipy or political reasons. Like there's no need for them to know this stuff, but they want to know so that they can go to your father or to your mother, be like, oh yeah, we know, like that is facts. Sorry, that is facts. That is facts.
Yeah. I've noticed that so many times, like especially adults. It's when I get older I start to realize, wait, you guys are talking about this now? This is inappropriate. But it's something that I start to realize between adults that they do.
I mean, well, we see adults, but now adults. But like, yeah. The other thing I was going to say, like, yeah, what you guys said is very true. I feel like sometimes it is the opposite. Sometimes people have a lot more intrigue. You know what? The question was, do we feel like they don't want to get to know us properly? To be fair, sometimes their questions and interrogation doesn't necessarily mean they want to get to know you. They want to know about you, which is a bit different. So, like, please. But that's how it feels for me personally, is that I feel like a lot of people want to know about me or want to know small facts and stuff just to get a bit of an idea about how pastors' kids are in general, but not necessarily to know me. But that might be different between us and Adi, because that's Adi's life from day dot. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But there's people in my life that have known me since childhood, and if you've known me from kids, then you've known me before I was ever a pastor's kid. So, or even those that knew me when my dad was in training, I wasn't technically a pastor's kid yet. So that's still, do you know what I mean? All those that even went to study, other kids that were studying, other kids whose parents were studying with our dad. So they'll have a different perspective on us, and they may want to know us on a deeper level, I suppose. And I do believe that people have predisposed like views on what I'll be like when they meet me. One of the first assumptions is because, like, especially if you're well-mannered, quote unquote, or well behaved, the assumption is you're fake. That's the first assumption, because why? Like I remember someone seeing me happy once. I must have been like 14, and I must have been at a Sabbath school, and I was just bubbly and talking, whatever. And someone just looked at me and said, someone looked at me and their eyes just screamed, "Why? What is wrong with you? Like, are you okay? Like, why? Just why?" And it was like, "You're a pastor's kid. Like, why are you happy? Where's the broodingness, and where's all the, do you know what I mean? There's people expect you to be a certain way." But like Ali said, I guess people put you on a pedestal, and sometimes they feel like you're more human when they get to interrogate you, I guess.
Mm.
That's deep, actually. Coming from what you guys just answered, do you ever feel, I'm gonna sound controversial, but do you ever feel like do you blame your dad to becoming on accepting that role, because you got put into a situation where you get judged just because you're a pastor's child, and you get put on a pedestal because you're a pastor's child, you get a certain treatment because you're a pastor's child? Do you ever shift the blame on your fathers, or yeah?
It sounds like it's a bait question. Such a baked question.
I think Chili and Ekecha are definitely deeper than this, so we'll give you a couple minutes still.
You can hit the pass button.
No, I ain't gonna pass. You go pass. Ain't passing. Oh, you know what? You go first, because we're not separate. Yeah.
Yeah. I think unconsciously I do sometimes. When I'm really irritated at something that's happened, like in church, I'm like, "Why did you all of this? Why? You had a choice. You could have stayed here, or you could have done this." So sometimes unconsciously, I think I do. But when I'm in full control of my emotions and everything, I don't know. I'm of the thinking that just because of my view on life, irrespective of them becoming a pastor's kid, how I'm treated, that's just gonna happen. That's just how it is. And because that's how it is, I was gonna deal with how it is. And yeah, just I have to be forward thinking rather than regret it. How could you do this? Da, da, da. So I'd rather not regret stuff. I'd rather just think forwardly. But yeah, I don't really know. It's a hard question. It's a really hard question.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a good question.
It's a good question too.
Is that from YouTube?
Nah, YouTube wasn't doing that.
Oh, you cooked that up, boy. Okay. That was for me. You know what? Like the being a pastor's child is, like I said earlier, it's sometimes, no, not even sometimes. To be fair, as if your dad is a leader, a spiritual leader, there is a level of added responsibility that feels like a burden. But I don't want to sound all airy fairy, but it is a blessing. It is ultimately a blessing. So I don't think I do. If anything, I feel like I've experienced accelerated growth because my dad's a pastor. So accelerated growth means growth, growing pains, but it doesn't mean that the growing is bad. You know what I'm trying to say? So
Come on now. That's a word.
Somebody put me out.
Growing is bad.
This guy's on fire today.
No, but like, yeah, that's how it feels. I don't think so. It's not like you said, maybe when we were younger, once or twice, I'd be like, oh, so-and-so gets away with this. I blink twice and someone thinks I'm doing something wrong, or someone thinks something's up. But at least, especially as I grow older, I don't know, maybe it's different because we became it, and there was a bit of time to prepare to be one. I don't know how it is for Adi, but I remember a period of getting ready and being like, one day my dad is going to be a pastor. One day I'm gonna be.
I think the mindset change that I think every pastor's kid will go through it, like from being at home to being in a church setting or where there's church people. So I think even Adi will probably go. He can answer for himself, he said. But I think like when you're at home, there's a certain way you are. Then when you go out, you have to remember, okay, my dad's a pastor, and how that affects the way you behave is up to you. But yeah.
Go on,
Yeah,
Andy.
I kind of got thrown off because somebody just came and opened my door. But what was the last thought you said? You said
That being at home, you might have a certain mindset, like you don't always thinking, oh, my dad's a pastor, or my dad's a pastor. Like, you might every now and then, because your dad might get a call or about to answer an email, but you're not always thinking that as you interact with him. But when you go outside, like maybe to church or to an event, and you see your dad's being approached by red people, and then you start to be more like, okay, yeah.
Wait, how deep can we go here?
How deep? We can go deep.
Because there's an aspect of
that's a very good question.
As comfortable as you can.
Okay, because there's a aspect of this that makes a big difference. And the only thing I can imagine other pastors' kids blaming their dads for is them not being around.
Ooh.
Because you're sharing your dad with everybody. Your dad is so much to the extent that other people see your dad as their dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So that because that does have that has a big effect. And at least, I don't know about how you feel, but at least for me, I'm gonna say, because I had dad for a decade and he wasn't anyone else's dad or anyone else's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was, I don't know, the way he pastors and the way he handles things, he's always felt present. So there's certain, like, I've seen other pastors' kids and stuff, and their dads have roles that take them around a lot more. But I remember when our dad became pastor, one of his rules was that we would always go places as a family. So I've never felt
that was annoying at first.
Yeah, it was annoying. It was definitely extremely annoying. Like, we got uprooted all the time. But
it's meetings that we do not need to be
there. Yeah, man. But you look back, I guess, and then you think, well, I guess I don't look back and get angry or anything. It was like, my dad was there. My dad was there. And I can't say that for every pastor's kid. So I don't know.
Well, so see, for me, it's been a little bit different again, because, okay, your first question was, can you switch it up in front of other people? I'm not gonna lie, I think I've done that all my life. It just feels so normal now. Like, honestly, it just feels absolutely normal. Like, now when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, not a lot, but because you're aware that, okay, now I'm in my private setting in my home, you're relaxed, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing, okay, I'm just gonna use events as an example, because in the SD church, we do a lot of events. Like, at camp meeting, it's like, you walk into the big church, like the one with the adults, and you walk through and you go say hello to your dad and you walk out and whatever. It's like, not like exactly you're putting on a facade, but it's more like you're in like a different kind of presence where you feel like you have to act a little bit differently, which I don't know if it is warranted or if it isn't, but it's just almost like what you do, and kind of becomes almost like second nature, I guess. But I guess maybe everyone kind of deals with that a little bit in terms of like respect in front of others and respect in front of, like at home you're more laid back, and then outside show a bit more respect. But yeah, and the other thing, I don't know if you can tell me, maybe you might be able to tell that we've spoken about this before, but for me, for example, my dad has been preaching in other churches all the time, and it almost does sometimes feel like my dad is, quote unquote, everyone else's dad. Do you know what I mean? Not that he didn't make time, because he did make a lot of time, especially like with my family, we'd always go out to places, but there's that on Sabbath, when you're supposed to be together, often my dad will be elsewhere, and then it would be my mom who's taking us to church and doing this and doing that. So, which is, I don't know if other people really recognize this, but especially in my situation, and probably in a lot of other people's situation, it might be different with Akechi and Chalaka, but often pastors' wives take on a whole lot of responsibility that often people don't see. And that's definitely been the case for me. My mom has been the beacon where my dad hasn't been there, which was a lot of Sabbaths, a lot of times. So big shout out to pastors' moms and my beautiful, amazing mother, Denise Hush. She's been great. And so yeah, that's probably quite interesting. I don't know what you guys have had experience with that, but in my case, yeah, it's almost been like my dad's been everywhere other than here a lot of the time, which isn't bad, because again, he has responsibilities elsewhere. And if it wasn't for those responsibilities, who would be looking after this and that? But obviously there's a balance in where sometimes it can tip in one way more than it tips in the other way. And yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, there's probably another. Yeah, sorry, Natalie.
No, sorry. I was just gonna jump in and say, like, it's interesting because I'm not a pastor's kid, but just seeing like how sometimes at church we wrongly put people on a pedestal, and I think it's not. I think pastors and pastors' families get it the worst, definitely. But I think also other people who are at the forefront of like things. So if you're a musician in church, I see the hype that like musicians get, and it's like, oh my days, like so my sister sings in Scripture Says, and someone came to our church, and it's like some event that we had, and she wasn't singing, but just like a teenager recognized that she was in Scripture Says, and literally came up to her and was like, can I have your autograph? And she's like, sorry, what? Like, no. Like, but then sometimes we just see people as like, oh, you're doing something in church, therefore you're like, you know, you're perfect, or you have to be perfect, or you're this, and like you're SDA famous is what I call it. But then recognizing, you know, God's called each and every one of us to use our gifts for him. So whether you're singing, whether you're preaching, whether you're doing X, Y, Z, like we're all on equal playing field, and we're all doing this for God, not for, you know, the praise or anything like that. And we all should be striving to work together to do this, rather than just sitting back and chilling and being like, oh, the pastor should do all the work, which is totally wrong. Sorry, yeah, that's me done. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I'm thinking like, and you talk about pedestals, and what I was just thinking now sometimes often is annoying. It's like nobody puts pastors' kids and pastors and whatever the families on pedestals other than the every average SDA. Like we're not putting ourselves on pedestals. It's everyone else that puts on pedestals and like makes you feel like you're something different when like you don't feel any different. I'm Adi, you know what I mean? And he's Chilean, he's Akechi, but people will think that you're different, or they're the ones that sometimes force it on you, and then you kind of put it on yourself. So that's something quite interesting. It's like no one thinks they're part of a secret community of specialist people or anything like that. Like sometimes that just could be what you're thinking of them, but really, it's again not the case.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that if I may. How we do for time? Are we good?
Yeah, keep going, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna add on to that. I was hesitated to say it, but it is what it is. I think that whether we like to believe it or not, it's not that it doesn't make us better than anyone else by any means. Before the comment section, I don't know, whatever goes, but there is an element to being a pastor's kid that is like being spiritual royalty, and that's just how it is. In the sense of this is not a superiority complex kind of thing. It's more of it's just a matter of fact. Like in the same way that Moses was a man, but he was the leader of the children of Israel, that's the same way that we are. So it doesn't mean that we are any better, but sometimes I guess maybe this will be an encouragement to all the other pastors' kids. Sometimes the thing that I've had to grow and learn is that it's not a bad thing that people see me as different, because I think that sometimes we run away so much from the label that we almost dim the blessing that has been placed on our parents' lives, I guess, because it is a blessing at the end of the day. The only bad thing that comes with it is that, as with every person that is blessed, people will be conceited and be upset for no apparent reason. But we can go into that later, I'm sure. I know there's special music to come and stuff.
So yeah, thank you guys. No, actually, yeah, Douglas, you go first, and then we'll introduce a special item. This is what I'm saying earlier. It's so lit.
I don't know if I should, because I've got a question, but it's kind of touching on what was just kind of just said. I don't know if I can plug in.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Okay, so you kind of talked about royalty, and in that sense, that's where my question is coming from. Do you feel like, maybe there is, but I guess I don't want to assume, I guess you guys can clarify, that you have certain privileges, and if so, do you take advantage of them, or are you like, nah? Because sometimes you have privileges, you can be like, oh, yeah, I'll take it because, hey, let me take it because I mean, why not? Or you can be like, you know what? No, like, I'm the same. Let me try. Like, let's say if I'm potluck lunch, I'm sure you maybe get like, hey, come to the front, or you're like, no, that's okay. I can make in the queue. That type of thing. How do you kind of deal with that? Is it there? And if so, how do you kind of deal with that? Are you accepting it? I think Chili goes to the front. But go on.
I can't lie. Me personally, there was a time I think I go through phases. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to be humble. I'm not gonna try and take advantage of these. Let everyone else let's be normal people. But the aunties and uncles at church will force it. So if you say no, they're like, wait, so you're disrespecting? So okay, no, I'm gonna say yes. So now I'm in a mode where I take absolute advantage, and then I'll help my friends. So people who are with me, we're all gonna get the same thing. But I take the mick. I'm right at the front for every potluck. I'm taking advantage completely, getting seconds and everything.
So you know when we say we were raised right, and I said you're not too shabby. I said not too. Like I guess okay. So this is where this is the only place where we probably differ. Like I'm very I don't know. I'm so there's certain privileges we have that I'm like, you know what makes sense. Like little ones like, okay, is it even a privilege? I don't know if I call it a privilege, but sometimes they will have, I don't know if the pastors have sessions, like not even sessions, like meetings, like every Christmas, where just the pastors' families and stuff get together.
What, the Christmas dinner?
Yeah,
Christmas dinner. Is that
Christmas dinner.
Like it, you know, sometimes it feels like it's a weird elitist ball thing sometimes, but
it's exclusive, so technically it's exclusive.
All right then, well, that's one that
it's inclusive,
yeah. That's the only one I would like to take advantage of, because it's something that we'll probably go into later. There's certain pressures that mean that as a pastor kid, you need a different level of support. Not support financially maybe, but support mentally.
Hospitality-wise.
Yeah. But as far as church goes, like as far as potluck and stuff goes, I can't lie. I try to shy away from anything that will make me a target. Like that's.
It feels awkward when you don't accept it, so I accept it.
It depends on the culture of the church, I suppose. Like some churches will let me back away, and I'll like I don't know. Our dad usually kind of goes, everyone else eat first.
Yeah, he tries to back away.
Yeah.
If it seems like they're really trying, like I'm there. I'll have time. I'll eat.
Yeah.
See, that's why when you mentioned that, I started giggling a little bit, because that's exactly what I do. If they're offering to go to the front of the queue, I'm there. Like I'm not waiting. I'm hungry and the food is there, and all I can think about is food. I'm like, okay, if you want to let me go in front, perfect. Like I just get more food in it. But yeah, I get what Ketchy's saying as well. But you know, like this the Christmas dinner and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes it is not a case of like privileges, but sometimes it's a case of like appreciation. So that's probably a good example there. Well, exactly what you just said. Sometimes, you know, people want to show their appreciation, and sometimes it can come across as a privilege, and maybe sometimes it is a privilege because other people don't get the appreciation that you might receive, or that your father might receive, that your family might receive. So maybe that's sometimes how it might come across. But in terms of like willing to take privileges, I mean, I won't say no if it like it's like sometimes like example, like someone want to give me a supermodel, I'm not going to say no if you're trying to give me a supermodel or whatever. Like I'll take it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I can't meeting with Sister Taylor's giving out. I'll put it on my dad's tab or something like that. Like I'll be very happy to take it. But it, like there's not many instances, I'd say, even like where there's like big privileges handed out to. Most of the time it's just,
there's one.
Unless there is, and I don't know about them.
There's one that I know we've all benefited from, and at Aberdaron, or any trips away. Classically, as a pastor's kid, you're kind of covered. As far as SDA privileges go, and that's one. Look, I have no shame. I'm not gonna lie to you. My shame is I have no shame. I have zero shame for that. I won't lie to you.
But I can see how it can create resentment.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think that's what I was gonna. Which is, again, there's a lot of parallels to being a part of a. No, royal family. That's
Okay,
a cult.
you need to clarify.
Royal family.
Yeah.
Part of a royal
A
family.
cult.
But yeah, there's a lot of parallels to being a part of a royal family in the sense of there's certain things that are just going to be different just because you're in a position of influence. That's the word.
Yeah.
With your dad's position comes a level of influence, and sometimes I think when Adi touched on it earlier, I was going to say something like the fact that sometimes in public there's a way I will conduct myself. It's not that I don't even see it as fake. It's just there's a level of censorship that I used to look back when I was 16. I used to be angry at myself, and I used to be like, no, I need to be outspoken, and I need to be like one of those pastors' kids that, you know what, I'm my own individual. I'm gonna make it known right here now in front of all these older people that I will have my. But at least from my point of view, that only happens when you're at war with yourself. So if you're actually at peace, you feel less of a need to make statements, and you kind of just act accordingly for the betterment of your brothers and sisters. Because sometimes I think that's something that as a pastor's kid you can get swept up into is fighting for your voice where you don't need to fight. But yeah, that's how I feel anyway.
That
was
yeah,
deep.
that was deep. What can I say? It has been very very, very interesting discussion. Thank you, guys. So we will continue. Douglas, I see your face. Pause that thought. Hold that. We will have a special music by Destiny, and it is entitled His Name is Hope. And then after that, we'll continue with the questions and then discussion. So I hope you guys will be blessed.
One day at a time is what she'll say to me when I tell her I'm all freaked out. One step at a time is what he'll say to me when I've lost my way from home. There may have been a time where you've had to let go of the things you can't control, or a season of change that has tossed you about, and you find yourself in a maze. Slow down and realize you can lay your burdens down. Oh, my friend, grab hold of hope and don't you let go. Hold his hand. Walking beside you is the one who holds the night, and he holds the day. His name is Hope. Each morning you wake with a choice you can take. New mercies wait with you. Now I know about those days when it's hard to face the daylight comes through in the strangest of ways. The more that you go through is the more you're being made new. Oh, my friend, grab hold of hope and don't you let go. Hold his hand. Walking beside you is the one who holds the night, and he holds the day. If at night you are losing your sleep and your head is full of things that you cannot see, or maybe you can, just please understand that God has a plan. Oh, my friend, grab hold of hope. Don't you let go. Hold his hand. Walking beside you is the one who holds the night, and he holds the day. one who holds the night, and he holds the day, and he holds the night, and he holds your days, and he walks beside you in every way. He holds the night, he holds your days, and his name is hope.
Amen.
Amen. So that is from Destiny. So her Instagram is Destiny. I'm gonna definitely butcher this name account. So it's at Destiny Joelivia. And you can also check more videos on One Sound Music. So thank you, Destiny, for sharing that music with us. We were definitely blessed by that. So going back with the discussion, I have a question for everyone. Going back to what Ikechi was saying earlier, do you like having people putting you in certain not stereotype, certain pedestals, certain treat you certain because certain things because of your title? Do you ever feel pressure into being a pastor because your dad is a pastor? Like obviously you said earlier, you have certain benefits that you claim or like you have because your dad is being a pastor. So with that, do you ever feel pressured, or do you want to be a pastor because you've seen how your dad is going, how your dad is? So yeah, do you even feel pressured, or do you want to be a pastor yourself? So whichever question you guys want to ask.
I'll go first. You know what? Funny enough, even though I went on my little rant saying, I have my other interests and stuff, I am a cliche. I do sort of toy with the idea of being a pastor because my dad's a pastor. However, maybe not so much for the reason that other people may think. I watched my dad switch professions, and for me, it's inspired me because, and I guess we can only speak for our family, but at least as far as I know, being a pastor in the SDA church is not a lucrative business, which is something that I see as a big blessing. It is a bit like, oh boy, but at the same time, it's a big blessing because it immediately, at least for our family, strips away the glitz and glamour that people associate with being in a pastor's family, and at least allows for people to see the authenticity behind someone's decision to be a pastor. Because like my dad, I watch how our family has come up, and I can say that my dad did it just because God called him. Because if we were choosing comfortability, my dad wouldn't have become one. If I wanted comfortability, I would have just told my dad why. Like, we were good. Like
we did say why. We did.
We did at the time, like initially.
I remember the
like,
day.
Yeah. Like the day that dad chose to become one, it was like, why? What? But but yeah, no, we were really good. We were really, really good. And then dad literally uprooted, became a pastor. And I think my drive, the thing that sometimes drives me to toy with the idea is the idea of
you know what to expect.
Yeah, I guess, watching my dad, I kind of know what to expect. And also, at least the way I've seen him handle certain situations, being in the ministry accelerates your growth in a way that very few professions do. Growth in terms of patience. I think that's the thing I admire most about not just my dad,
People management. Yeah.
Not just my dad, but everyone's dad. Like everyone's dad that is in the ministry. The level of patience and love that you need to have unconditionally it's crazy, and it can only force you to become a better Christian. So yeah, I do toy with the idea. Yeah,
I can agree. I can definitely agree with that. I'm already thinking that I might. I don't know if I want to study theology to do it. If I have to, do I have to? I think you have to.
You don't have to, but most of the time, people do. Yeah.
Ugh.
There's certain exceptions. You do, but there's certain exceptions for people.
Hopefully, I'll be an exception because I do. I want to dabble in it a bit just because I know what to expect, and it won't be too much out of the ordinary, which I think is normal for most kids. You see your parents' profession, and you're like, okay, you may not want to do it complete as your own job. Be like, it's the easy one to jump into because you know what to expect. You've seen the struggle part, you've seen the blessing parts. You're like, I can sort of see what could be lying there. But yeah, that's the only reason I would want to jump in there. But otherwise, I've got other interests that I'd rather do.
Just toying with the idea. I'll just say I'm toying with it. That's the word. What about you, Eddie, man?
Well, yeah, for me, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'd say I'm in a similar position that you guys are in as well. Like, I mean, look, obviously, I've grown up, and it's just been the fact that as a pastor, and I've seen, maybe right, you know, when you're weighing up certain professions in your head. And I remember when I was deciding, you know, what I wanted to study at university, what I wanted to do, being a pastor came into my mind. But one thing that I would say, my mum was both my parents actually were very very on the topic, because I remember I mentioned it. Forgive me, I mentioned it flippantly one time, like, oh, okay, I could just be a pastor. Do you know what I mean? And they were like, well, being a pastor is a calling, you know, like, you guys know that. Like, you just said you were sure that your dad was called to be a pastor. It's like, I kind of made the comment, like, you know, like, oh, I could, if that doesn't work, I'll just be a pastor. You know what I mean? And like, they came down on me quite heavy there, because being a pastor it is a profession, but it's more than just like, you know, like a profession. Like, I'm studying physiotherapy. It's more than that. There's people's like lives at stake, you know. It's more than just this and that. So that's when I think about it. And I'll be real, I have thought about it as well. You could use the word toying, but you could also use the word, like, I've been thinking about it, like, you know, I have my own interests, but that also interests me a lot, you know. And perhaps the life I've lived so far has influenced it somehow, you know. Again, like I said, I've seen like on that side, the respect that my dad has received, and I've sat through countless sermons. Like, you guys will know this, like, from the age of nothing, I've heard my dad preach from the pulpit, which is a massive blessing. Not a lot of people do get to hear that, but me, like, you know, I've heard my dad preach in front of so many people and touch so many people's hearts, and like marry so many people and baptize this many people. Like, I know that's not what the ministry is about. Ministry isn't about numbers and all this stuff, but that stuff is moving, and you see it, and it's like, whether you realize that it influences you or not, like, perhaps to a degree it does. And like, I've seen the like the happiness and the benefits that you can get from being in the ministry, and from really like pastoring people, being in a pastoral figure where you're really, you know, making an impact on people's lives. And yeah, so I would say it is something that's in my head that I do think about. And I forgot the exact question, which was right at the beginning, but we've ended here. I don't know where we're going to go from now. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, like, you know what? Interestingly, I think the one concrete thing I can say that my dad's profession has had an effect on me about is that I now can't imagine a profession where God isn't the backbone. Do you get me? I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, this is not saying that my mom's profession, my mom's not a pastor, and she's not in a church ministry like that, but I cannot imagine it, because I'm watching my dad and I'm watching all these other pastors as well. And whilst I might not become a pastor, because like Adi said, which is very true, it is a calling. You're not just doing it on a whim. You're doing it because you are accepting a mission by God. We don't turn up. You don't just turn up at the burning bush and wait for it to, you know, start burning. It burns if it burns. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, so
I like that one.
please. But like, no, like, really, like, I, even in whatever I decide to do now, whether that be is a teacher or a counselor, whatever I do now, I want to dedicate it to God and ask God how he can use me in that profession, because I see the fulfillment it brings my dad. Like, you know, pastors, as Adi knows, and I'm sure all of you know, really, they go through it, man. They go through it, and there's a lot of things they go through that in a lot of other professions are a perfect excuse to leave your job, to get legal aid, to send people to prison. But for them, it's just the job. It's just life. And I think it develops just such a healthy attitude and such a healthy outlook on life that I would like to bring the same attitude into whatever I decide to do in my life. Yeah.
I think that's so important, because I think coming on, I was thinking, well, I know we've got some questions coming through, but none of these things that you said have, it's just, there's so much hindsight, there's so much perspective that I'm getting about being a pastor's kid and what that looks like, not only on yourself, but also your home, your mentality, because I'm thinking, wow, okay. And I think this session is so sick, because people don't realize this at all. I didn't realize this. I remember speaking myself. I didn't realize this. But when you guys speaking and seeing what you guys are experiencing, your mindset, your transformation, your growth, your accelerate growth, I think it is unraveling just how it is actually a blessing. Like I'm just saying, I'm like, wow, okay. I think it's teaching you guys a lot. I can definitely see that from you guys. That is definitely teaching you a lot. I was going to ask a question. I don't know if Natalie wants. Mine's kind of segueing a bit. I don't know if you guys want to ask a question on this, so you guys can kind of go if you don't want to. I'm going to segue on this one though.
Mine was also segueing off something that Addy said. So
I have a question.
I think Denise has asked too many questions already. So technically, it's like it's between me and Douglas, Denise. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, this is my last question, and then you guys can you can ask. Kind of just relaying back to what Ikechi and you guys were saying as well. So, do you then I don't know how to put this. Do you live your life recognizing that you're carrying your father's name, knowing that you want to live your own life, but you have your father's name and you have your, not to say your father's reputation to protect, but you know, you get me. Do you get me or not? Or you do you ever do you ever live right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'll let you guys talk about, you know what, like on this one, I would say it's no different to any other child, which will lead into something else really. But, you know, like as a pastor's kid, you know, we there's a lot of things, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of knowledge that you have, or you're expected to get a grasp of quicker than other people. And one of those things is honor your parents. And I feel like whilst, it's something that protecting my father's name, I wouldn't even say is it protecting? Honoring my father's name, which as long as he's with God, I'm honoring God. I'm honoring God's name. So, I do feel a responsibility to do that. I think that it's something that every young person should, or every person should feel the responsibility to do. It's just that as a pastor's kid, your father's role is so out there that people know whose name you're behind. For the rest, I guess, let me not say for the rest as if everyone's just commons, but like for everyone else, you know what I'm trying to say, but for everyone else, I feel like it should be the same for everyone else. Like your parents' name, no matter what they've done, no matter who they've been, it deserves the respect because God put you in their care. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's complex situations with some people's parents and stuff like that, so I'm not speaking on those. But in situations where it's quite straightforward, I feel like we all have a responsibility to honor our parents' name as far as we can in line with God's word. So yeah, I do. When I go around, I want to honor Obi's name because God
I think there's also the complexity of what does it mean to honor the name. So does it mean that you have to, you show the utmost respect to infer people for their sake, but you're not doing it simply just for them. You're doing it because you love them, but you're also doing it in respect to God. So because you take God out of the mix, then you're not really honoring their name technically. Because that means if they're moving sideways and then you're honoring their name, without God there, you're moving sideways too now. You're honoring their name sideways. So it's best if you're doing it in line with God, then it actually has some impact.
Yeah. Just because like so quickly, just because obviously that pastors are not perfect. Even my dad is not perfect. Like, so, and especially when a pastor goes a bit left, it's a matter. It's a. So this is not me saying that my dad through thick and thin I'm a ride or die. It's just that, in fact, counter to that is that sometimes even honoring your parents' name is when it comes to situations where they may be in the wrong or somewhat, you just gotta stay silent or something, or you answer things honestly. Honesty is so important. That's an encouragement to all the other pastors' kids as well. Don't feel pressure to start protecting something that is wrong. If something's wrong, then it's wrong. It's okay. It's actually okay. Like, it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? But sorry, yeah, Adi, go on.
Oh man, I'm just, yeah, right. I completely agree. Being very, yeah, in those situations, it's very important to just be honest and, again, like you're your own person, you have your own opinion on things. But then again, I mean, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you guys, when you do, in a sense, carry your father's name around with you. And like, perhaps it was something you noticed when you were like, for me, like, I remember one time, I was just a bit young, and I was a bit like, me and my friend, actually, he was also a pastor's kid, we were just a bit mischievous. And somebody was like, oh, I used to get it quite often, oh, you should know better, It's like, it's that kind of a thing. Like, you kind of you realize early on that, okay, well, you should know better. You're a little bit different, which again, is and isn't the case. You can argue both ways. But it's just the fact that other people seem to think that, whether it's right or wrong, it's a different topic altogether. But so in that sense, you kind of realize early on, okay, well, I'm Pastor Hush's son, Obviously, with your friends and with everyone else, they know, oh, you're Adi, you're Akechi, you're Chili. But to be fair, I was just thinking about this. It's more with adults that you have all the problems. With the kids, it's not so much, I don't think. Because with the kids, especially when you were younger, like, I didn't even know that there was like pastors and non-pastors. I just thought, I'm just friends with them, I'm friends with them. But it's when you get older and, adults, like, I'm realized, like, I've been thinking about it, and I realized when I was like a couple of years ago, like, people would have divisive conversations with me about my dad. And I'm like, oh, wow, like, I didn't see it. Like, I'm 12, 13 years old, I didn't see it. But now I'm thinking about the questions they're asking me. I'm like, why on earth are you asking me those questions? You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing to do with me. You're asking about my father, about specific topics. Like, it's not me. So you kind of, it's a two-edged sword. There's like good things and there's bad things. Like, it is good for anyone, regardless whether they're a pastor's kid or not, to honor their father and their mother, and to, show respect to everyone else by to show respect to their parents by respecting others, is what I'm trying to say. But then it just becomes more apparent as a pastor's kid because other people seem to kind of put more of, they kind of look at with you under a magnifying glass a little bit more than they would do with the little kids, and hence why you get there, oh, you should know better, which again, I do say, I do understand. I don't really know if it's entirely good, if it's entirely bad, but it seems to be the case.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got one thing what I think might be a cause of that, which is just an assumption because I don't know, because I've never really thought this way. But it might be caused by inferiority complex, where they think that their name doesn't deserve honor as an adult. So they think, okay, you guys need to be honoring your father's or your mother's name. We're not going to tell the other kids here because their parents don't deserve honor. They won't say that explicitly, but subtly that's the kind of message that I've taken from that.
Yeah.
And it's not true. It's like a complex that's kind of grown. It's a very human thing. It's a human disposition.
Human. Very often when people put you on a pedestal, what they'll do that's the danger of putting pastors on a pedestal in terms of superiority, because what they'll do is once they put you up there, obviously the higher up they put you, then the further down they can bring you. Like, if they start glorifying you, the next step is, well, if you're so close to God, then how dare you behave like this? Like, there's what I'm trying to say.
And that's where privilege and resentment comes in.
Yeah. But Natalie and Douglas's questions might help us to.
Well, to be honest, and I feel like I want to kind of go back to the whole. So you were saying it's not really young people that you feel this with; it's more so adults. And kind of want to ask a question about like the two merged. So, talking about friendships, relationships. You guys are young men. Like,
Girls.
It might be a personal question,
No, go
so you
on.
can do like short
Girls
answers.
are like, oh.
But like, do you ever feel like, I don't want to say from your parents, but just, you know, this expectation? So for example, let's say there was a girl that you're interested in, and then it's like, can't even I can't even, you know, suggest to my parents because it's like, well, yeah, it's a no from me. Like, do you ever feel like, you know, you have to wrestle with that kind of, okay, these are my friends, but also maybe other people would say, oh, why are you hanging out with these people? Because, you know, you're a pastor's kid. Do you ever get that? I know it's a bit personal. I'm not trying to dive into your lives. You don't need to tell us your whole love lives, like friendship lives.
Okay. You know what? I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but I don't think it's too intrusive. Like, guys, are we good to talk about? I'm good.
I'm still deciphering in my head. But
Oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Just don't bait yourselves out completely on YouTube. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's not a name. It's not a name game.
Yeah, that's fine.
But just about the principles of it. Like, I think this one, again, maybe it's less about this is another misconception perhaps about pastors, kids and their parents that I feel like a lot of people have. Again, like Adi said, I feel like a lot of the pressures come from other outside adults. My parents, I would like to say Adi's parents too, they treat us the same way other parents would treat their children that are looking for a partner, or hanging out around with a different group of friends. Okay, with friends, admittedly, it can be a bit different, maybe, because again, with royal family kind of comparison, they reflect who you are. Your friends are reflecting who you are. I will admit that there were times where I would hang around people and I would be like, oh man, like, this ain't me. This ain't me. And the danger that pastors' kids can run into, which I think Christians can run into in general, it's just at different varying levels and varying situations, is that people want to find out if you bleed, metaphorically. People want to know, are you like me?
Are you weak?
Are you weak? Do you have weaknesses? And so sometimes it can be hard selecting friends, because once people find out he's a pastor's kid, well, there's a checklist of the things they want to find out if you're willing to do. And that actually tends to come from within the church than outside. Outside, they look at you and they may test you, but out of pure curiosity. Whereas in the church, sometimes it's out of resentment. In fact, a lot of the time it will be out of resentment. And this is not me saying I hold anything against those that have done it. It's just, I understand, like, I'm sure if I was on the other side, I might have the same type of complex where I'd be like, well, what makes you so different to me? Like, come see, like, why do you want to do this? Come do this with me and blah, 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 blah. So when it comes to friends, I do know that my parents, even more than girls, like, my parents were a lot more sometimes wary of who I hung around with, because they would see it before I saw it. I think as I've gotten older now, I'm a lot more aware. But when I was younger, my dad and my mom would identify, like, that person isn't friends with you because they like you. They're friends with you because they want to do intel. Like, they want to just find out about they want to find out about you. And another weird thing that, again, like Adi said, it's an adult thing maybe. The adults defo send their children out to do recon on pastors' families. Like,
that's facts.
That is so, and it's a very crazy thing. They defo send their children out. And some parents do good jobs, some parents do bad jobs. Like, the child comes, like, some children come to you and you're convinced, like, oh, this person wants to be my friend. Some children approach you and you're like, who told you to come here? Like, you clearly don't. Like, are you okay? Like, is there cameras? It's okay. Like, blink twice if someone's watching your shoulder. You know what I'm trying to say?
The way I look at it is like a tribe.
Yeah.
So you've got different tribes, so different families that know each other, different friends and all sorts. And so there's a tribe that you'll be used to seeing. And then if you see one outsider come in and you know that they've had issues with the other tribe before, I'm not saying clique, because it's not a clique type of thing, it's not exclusive, but it's just, you notice this person doesn't usually like hang around these people before, and when they hang around, they're mischievous or they're trying to do something, something's not right. That's when there's usually alarm bells ring, and like, who's this? They're not my friend. That can't be right. Why are they here? Are you sure? Everything's good? Is everything good? Check everything's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we can proceed. But so I see it as tribes, like that type of way. But yeah,
So,
can't remember the question.
yeah, I seem to be getting more visitors now than I ever do. Like every time I go on the Zoom call, like 100 people knock on my door. Like, normally it doesn't happen, but now it does. You know.
They can come say hi. It's fine.
Yeah, it would have been my sister. She could have said hi. Another pastor's kid. But yeah, no, the tribe one I hear a lot. But you know what? I'm just in my experience, it was normally me who was like, instead of other people trying to catch me out, I just catch myself out. Like I do something stupid. Like, and that's one of the things that kind of comes with being a pastor's kid. Like I'm now remembering all these times when like I acted, inappropriately for any child, but because I'm a pastor's kid, it looks bad on my dad. You know what I mean? Or like I when I was younger, I might have, I don't know, like I tripped somebody up or did something like it was a bit mean, but it looks bad on my dad. That's the difference. For other kids, it looks bad on them, but for me, it looks bad on my dad. And I guess the way I've always seen it is it's just the way it is. Like I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but because of your dad, especially because my dad is who he is, where at the time, I don't know, maybe youth director or pathfinder leader, it's not just one church, it's everywhere. And again, because people put them on this pedestal, it's the same thing you mentioned, the higher up you are, the lower down you fall. And it's unfortunate that people put you so high for you to fall so much. And again, you fall in their distinction, not in your own distinction, not in your relationship with God, but you fall in their distinction, which often actually has more bad things than if you fell in your own distinction, because they talk to others and others talk to others and blah, blah, blah. And as we probably know, like, being a pastor's kid, your dad isn't always in the best situations. Like sometimes there might be bad situations in the church or in the conference. And then that's when adults do their recon. That was a great word. That's when adults do their recon and send their kids out, and not only their kids, but even themselves sometimes. So that has been a little challenging thing. And I guess it's for me, I remember distinctly I remember the time my mom told me, listen, Adi, like you need to be mindful of what you say to people when they ask you, because they could ask you about this or about that. And these are things that are not anyone's business. They're just asking you this to gain information or something. And it's been something that I don't know, like it's just been it for the longest time. So I guess maybe that's something that might be different to other kids, where I have to be mindful of these things because, again, my dad is who he is, and I'm his son.
Yeah, definitely. This is a juicy one. I can't even lie to you, because when it comes to, especially people doing recon and people being genuine or being ingenuine, it's a complex one, because on one side, like you said, like my parents told me the same thing. They say, be careful of the things you say, not because they're not trying to get you to be fake. They're just trying to remind you that you are human and you don't owe anyone more information than they owe you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like they wouldn't expect you to ask these type of questions about them. So don't feel pressure to give them the same back. But then on the flip side, I remember having a conversation with my dad and my brother and whatever, and I was talking about like how it's weird because at the same time we do have to be more transparent than the average person. Like with increased power, I feel like increased transparency goes hand in hand. So my dad's position, at least for me, sometimes, like I don't know, as I've gotten older, I've become less on guard about the things I reveal to people, not about my dad necessarily, but about me. It's weird, like it's the balance between giving people what's necessary and withholding what just doesn't need to be said. Like some people just want to hear for the sake of hearing. But there's certain situations where I've been around other pastors' kids and they've been cagey for no reason, and I've been like, why be cagey? Like, why give people reason to wonder about something they don't need to wonder about? If someone asks you, like certain questions that people ask, and I think, why would I not answer this? If they want to know, they want to know. And if anything, there's certain things that I've grown to learn that people will feel the need to know, and they do need to know because of who I am. Like, it's okay for them to want to feel safer and ask me certain questions, because whether I like it or not, some people's kids are looking at me and wanting to be like me or something. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a complex one, to be honest. It's difficult.
Yeah, I think you guys shed a light on you could say, like you said before, you could say royalty, but inside world into pastor's kid, because some of these things, some of us don't have to deal with these things. So I think you kind of making me more vigilant and kind of, yeah. I think for me, And it's crazy because I think, I'm actually, I think 2 years ago at Paris, I didn't know it was a pastor's kid until a couple months ago. I was like, Chili's? Ah, okay. So I think that was great for me because, even if age, to be fair, like I only met you recently, but like, although I knew that didn't even change my mindset. But I think that kind of, I guess, trying to have that mindset, trying to have the mindset of everyone, because again, naturally, when it's like, for example, if a daughter of President Obama or something like that, or ex-President Obama, of course you're gonna think a certain way. You're gonna you subconsciously act a certain way because of who the person is.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm happy that I kind of I think I like that I knew Chile before I knew who he was, kind of thing. Because I was chill with Chile, and it was just it's so chill that I realized that I was like, oh, okay, oh, fair enough, okay, cool. It had an effect on me, and Ketchy as well. But yeah, I think you guys are definitely shedding some interesting light on, I think, that things that people wouldn't actually think about, or have to go through. So definitely appreciate that. I guess the last question for me is, I was kind of joining a little bit what you guys are saying. So Adriel and you guys, Chile and Ekechi, you guys are good friends. Also, Adriel was saying how he has a friend, has a different pastor kid friend. Is that like a thing? Is it like, oh, pastor, oh, let's go? Or is it like just a natural thing? Because I don't know, is it coincidence that you guys are friends, or because you're pastor's kids, or is that just because you're friends? I don't know.
See, this is interesting. Yeah.
All right. Ready to go? All right.
Oh, in fact, no, Adi, go on, bro. Go on, bro.
No, because we're probably going to say the same thing, because I remember we actually said this maybe like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Even though we're both pastors' kids. No, I'll let Akechi say it because you said it first. Go on.
Oh, okay.
You go.
No, I was just gonna say that interestingly, we obviously, when I met Adi, I wasn't a pastor's kid. We were not pastor's kids. Adi was, but we weren't.
Yeah.
Again, ironically, as a child, I don't remember registering that he was a pastor's kid. He was just a friend, family friends first. And obviously there's an age gap. So when we were younger, Adi was the little kid that, like, adoptive little brother kind of thing. Like, oh, if I see Adi about, mom would say, oh, take Mitchell, look out for Adi and stuff. This is all before where even me and Adi and Chilaka are all pastor's kids together. This is just as children. So it's a bit different for us. But definitely being a pastor's kid, I guess, created more of a bond because there's a more similarities of things to go back and forth on. Interestingly, in terms of the pastor's children community, it's interesting we even went here because this is interesting. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, this is something we've been thinking about for a long time. Like, and maybe it's different for Chilaka and I coming in new. Well, are we new? I don't know. To some people, we're still new. To some people, we are. Some people are valid. To some people, are not. But like, I think the pastors' community, I think a lot of the pastors are close with one another. But the pastors' children, it varies because it just varies. It just varies.
I think it's because we tend to interact only at events where all the pastors will congregate, and then we're like, okay, because we have to be here. Wagwan, you good? Yeah. But even then, it doesn't tend to be a close connection. It just be like, okay, we know your dad, that's you. Yeah. We know your dad. And sometimes it's even less of connection than members and other pastors' kids.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a lot of resentment for no reason. It's very weird. It's a very weird vibe sometimes. But thankfully, nowadays, I think this year, last year maybe a bit as well, but we're coming back more and more, how would you say, more of a community as kids, or we're not, most of us aren't kids anymore, we're most adults, but as descendants of, we're becoming more and more close together, we're being a bit more open with each other and being more friendly with each other more. And I think it's a great thing. It's something that we actually try to encourage as well, because is there a plug section during this at any point?
We can plug now.
Plug section.
Shameless every week.
Plug now.
Yeah. So we're actually setting up a what we would like to. What would you call it? It's not a community.
I mean, we're not. It's not a community. Like me and my brother.
Support group.
Support group, yeah. And Adi, we're talking about like a support group of some sorts for children of ministerial leaders. Not because we're all horrible to each other, but I do believe that there's a lot to unpack when it comes to being the child of a pastor. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of unique experiences that we have that we really don't get the opportunity to just sit down together and talk about. And as people, I think we can all relate to a situation where you see someone, you think we should be friends, but we're not friends. But we should be friends, and we should be a lot closer than we are. And that's I think if that to sum up my experience being a pastor's child, that's how it's been a lot of the time. I look at certain people, I think I should be able to confide in you, like you, or I've seen other older pastors' children, like my seniors, and I've been like, you're a pastor, like you should be my guide of some sort, like, or a mentor. Do you know what I mean? And it's not even a fault of theirs. It's just that there's not a culture of support yet. Yeah, there's not a culture of support yet integrated.
I like that.
So, and it's not, like, I think, it's not a resentment thing. It's just, they've never experienced other pastors' kids looking out for them or anything like that. And so the trend has continued. And I think you even go to events and there's even a look every pastor's kid has that they give each other, the acknowledgement of, and you almost want to say more. There's even, like, you even look at each other like, you almost want to say more, but there's
a barrier. You don't know how much you can say. You don't know, like,
Yeah. And in some instances, it has, like, become a rivalry, I'm sure, between some families. Like, I don't know if Adi can relate, but you've ever run into another pastor's kid sometimes and wondered, do we not talk to them because there's an issue? Or am I not talking to them just because I haven't, like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and there's nothing wrong. It's just there hasn't been an encouragement to bond, where perhaps our fathers are already bonding, our fathers and mothers rather are already bonding. So yeah, it's just something that me, my brother, and Adi were talking about. Like, I don't know, we don't know all the ins and outs, but a way of allowing pastors' kids to share their experiences and to talk to one another, because it's great and all talking to other kids and other individuals, but it's nice to talk to people that have lived somewhat the experience that you have lived. So, and
I just take us for an example, me, Chili, and Akechi. Like, we were friends when I can't even remember. I was so young. I have several memories when we were young, but I must have been like 5. Like, these guys knew me when I was really young, and we were all friends, happy playing. And then you grow up, you go through your teens. These guys went away, they came back, and I'd see them at camp meetings or at pastors' events, and we talk, but we weren't like let's be real, like, we weren't like good friends. Like, we even said this, like, we all had our own friendship groups at events and stuff. Like, I was with my people and they were their people, and there's not a big age gap between me and Chili. There's only a year, and then between me and Akechi there's several years, but like, we didn't really talk, and I wish we did. And there's looks like it's pretty relatable. Like, we'll be like, oh, hi, how you doing, man? And then for the rest of the week you'll just be like, oh, you're right, and then that's it. You know what I mean? It's like, I have my friends, they have their friends, but I guess this whole kind of support group space, whatever we haven't decided fully yet, but it's almost like a place where those bridges can be made, or like a place where the bridge can be made more easily, because I think they were needed. I think if more, because it's just people that you can share experiences with. Again, you should make these bridges with everybody, but we share certain experiences that other people don't share, and sometimes it's good that they don't share. Sometimes it's just the case. So it would be so nice. Akechi, you've been on fire today with these words, man. The culture, it'd be so nice to break the culture that like has been the case for forever, where, you know, not that you're on your own, but like, we're not really like supporting each other, which is probably why support group is a good use of the word. And that's something that like resonates a lot with me, because again, I understand that being a pastor's kid comes with responsibilities, and you can argue whether it's good or bad, but you're still a kid and you still go through experiences and you still make mistakes and you still make great decisions, and sometimes people don't often see that, and like, that's something that resonates with me, and perhaps that's something that resonates with somebody else, and then we can talk about that. And that's pretty much what this is about in a sense. You
kind of hit on something there where I feel like, I don't know how many pastors can say this, but there is a level of extreme loneliness, I'll definitely say.
Like, 100%. I'm so happy you said that, you know.
And it's ironic because there's a lot of us. I think for me and my brother, when we went to Scotland, I remember, because it's quite a small, well, it's kind of got a bigger bit now, because when we went there 2010, I remember because remember, we weren't born into it. We were coming out of a community where we had all our friends at church, but once we were set apart, our friendship group, whether we want to believe it or not, it switched. And now even our friends still saw us as like, okay, you've now touched a different echelon of people. So we're still your friends, but you're gonna have to find another support group. And so in Scotland, I remember there's like one other pastor's kid that we were able to talk to. And I mean, I won't speak on his behalf, but I remember it was awkward because it was like, he was on his own. He didn't really have support. So he didn't have to support us who are newbies into the game, so to speak. And that's, like you said, that like, yeah, it's just the culture. So I remember going in, at that age, you don't know how to articulate it, but you're looking for guidance. And it's not the same to hear it from another pastor. Like another pastor coming and giving you support is not the same because they're not a pastor's child. It's a whole different experience. In the same way that I do know that the pastors' wives have their own support ministry. I think they have going on that they meet up and, or I don't know, they have some WhatsApp group chat or something like that.
Ministerial spouses.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
that's the one. And I know the pastors, they obviously support each other and whatever. But for the children, it's really anyone's game. It's really survival of the fittest out here. It's really just, you have the good ones and you have the bad ones. You have the ones that came out normal and the ones, let's be honest, you have the ones that came out normal and you have the ones that became something else because of a lack of help, essentially. Yeah.
But there are people that have tried to do stuff, so I don't want to forget them.
Yeah.
Daniela Holder, shout out to her. She reached out and she tried to do something. She had a little obstacle in between, but she's also trying to help as well. So she's definitely trying to do something.
Yeah.
And Joe Philpott, I believe I'm correct, is also trying to do something.
There has been multiple attempts to address it, definitely. But
There's
it's
not a lot of support behind it.
But there's not been I don't know, it's just nothing's quite happened yet, that's all.
But I think everyone's coming back together now, especially during the quarantine. People had a lot of time to recuperate and think. So I think a lot of people are coming together to like try and push it as well. So, but yeah, if you want to, anyone on YouTube, if you want to support or find out more about it, I hope there's a way to contact us after this. I don't know. Information. But through Instagram, if you find out Instagrams, please, message us and ask about it. See how you can help out as well.
Yeah, because I did ask around. Like, I think maybe last year, towards the end of last year, I just sent random messages out, just asking like, yeah, would this be something that you guys be interested in? And even I was kind of shocked at how many people were like, yeah, man, like
give us more.
Yeah, give me more, man. Like, what are you saying? A support group, like, in the same way that everyone needs therapy at some point in their life. I feel like a lot of pastors' kids would benefit from this. I'm sure there's older ones now that may feel as though they're too far gone or they've made their own way, and that's to each their own. But there's so much that we can share and take from each other. Like, there's a lot of things I would love to tell future pastors' children in terms of how to prepare and just to guide and be there for, because it's whether you want to believe it or not, you are different. You are going to be different, and it's okay. Like, I don't want another generation of pastors' children to be tiptoeing around who they are, because it just causes more confusion. If you're a pastor's kid, you're a pastor's kid. That's okay. Like, you have to own it. You have to own it first, and then deal with the problems that come with it. If you tiptoe around it, then you have yourself confused as to who you are. Then you never address any of the issues that come with being one. So, yeah.
Wow. Very insightful. Very I want to say deep, educated, like definitely open like a broader for me anyway, for understanding of what really is like to be a pastor's kid. And it's not only a way of educating young people, but also hopefully those that are watching that are parents or aunties and uncles and other church members, to kind of not overlook pastor's kids as or put them as in a pedestal, because whether we like it or not, we're all the same. we all go through the same thing, and just because of their father or their family has, you know, gone through or has a hold of the church or different churches, does not mean they're different from the other. And I actually commend you guys, Chilaka, Ikechi, and Adi, for having to come up with a support system, and also for those that have already attempted or tried to create an like a, what you call this, a support system, because I never really thought of that. You know, I never really thought that you guys have a deeper, not only spiritual battle, social, emotional, and mental battle as well to face, because of your father's ministry and your family's ministry. So yeah, I was definitely encouraged and enlightened and blessed by you guys' testimony, this discussion.
I'm just gonna say, please,
Yeah.
please start this up. And
Yeah,
we'll
I'm not even a part of it, but I'm excited for you.
You know what I mean? Like, we'll wholeheartedly support. And
We will
if you have
definitely
anything
pray.
to like put out there, we will definitely put it out there.
Yeah. Sorry to quickly add, like, sorry
Go
to
for it.
quickly really, like, I just wanted to say that the hopes, at least, like, my hopes is that even though you're all not pastors' children, the hope for me is that. Oh, really? You didn't want to say it, but yeah.
No, I know you're gonna say it.
But also, my hope is that eventually, other people will be able to get us, pastors' children, to give testimonies and give encouragement to other people that are not pastors' children about the walks, because we have a lot to give, man. Like, I feel like
Definitely. Even now we can see that. So
yeah, like, I almost feel like sometimes screaming, like, guys, like, big up yourselves. Like, you're going through a lot, but your struggles are producing a lot of diamonds that you guys are sitting on life gems. And instead of telling people about your life, you're allowing people's pressures to turn you into difficult people or whatever. Like, just yeah. I'm not articulating myself properly, but so I'm gonna pause.
Give us
no,
space
that's deep. That's deep. That's deep.
Diamond shine. Can you say diamonds? The diamond shine.
What he said.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah.
Rihanna. Sorry. That's it. Sorry.
This guy.
Adi, do you want to say something?
I'm sorry. These guys have articulated it so beautifully, but yeah, I mean, as we've been saying this whole time, it would be so great just for to have a platform where we can talk together and share. You know, like even though there might be an added spiritual blessing in the home because your father's a pastor, you know, the devil can sense that, and he comes in a little harder. Like, if I look at my other peers, my other pastors' kids peers, like, it as we said, like, it's so bad that we often see pastors' kids as cases, like, you know, that, like Akechi said, it's either good or bad and whatever. Like, that's something I really dislike. I really would like to change. But it's just, you can see how the devil is, like, hit people's families, and especially, like, my peers, my friends, you know. And if there was a support group such as this in place where, you know, we could just talk about it, you know, like, we're all kids. Like, yes, like, my father's a pastor, but there's a level where we can talk as pastors' kids, because we're not going to judge each other. We're not going to judge each other's parents. Like, where other kids might judge your parents and might go to their parents and tell their parents, like, we're all pastors' kids. Like, I'm not going to be judging you or your dad. We're talking, we're friends, you know what I mean? And that's something that you can almost, I don't want to say you can only get from other pastors' kids, but again, it's a shared experience, and you're not going to be as worried to stay closed and stuff about it, and be closed about it, when really it would be so much more beneficial if you're just open about it. So that's something that I would probably like to close on, that, you know, it would be so nice, and it would be so nice to just present that to the younger generation, something that obviously we didn't have, and something that we can encourage and create a new culture where it's more loving and it's more warm and it's more free, and hopefully it kind of expands out to everyone else too, but it would be great to start there.
Definitely. Praise God. I just want to say that, I don't know, because you guys have inspired me. Like, you guys have taught me things that I've never really delved into, and please, and whoever, like, is listening as well, pastors' kids out there that are listening to this, maybe right now or maybe later, do not invalidate yourself or your opinions or your experiences, and what it is that you want to share, because you can definitely enlighten us non-pastors children, the side that we can't see, the side that a pastor or even a pastor's child is going through, and we just cover it with, oh yeah, God's got them because, you know, they're on God's side more because they're shepherd of the church. No, like definitely, like I love how you guys are just open to share your experiences, and I praise God for this session and episode. So yeah, guys, feel free to plug in your Instagram, Facebook for people to contact you, and even the ministry that you guys wanting to start. Feel free to go for it, and then we'll close it with a prayer by Natalie. If
yeah, unless you don't want to be found, then obviously don't
yeah,
plug your
true.
Instagram and Facebook.
But it's too late now. They're already here.
How are we gonna do this?
I don't know. Find me. I don't. How like
Find me.
So do I say my?
I think it could be better. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say we I guess in the near future we'll probably make a social media platform for the purpose of this.
Yeah.
When that happens, when that happens, we could probably we could ask very kindly if you guys could plug it on maybe your platform, and we'll plug it on the
definitely.
Whatnot.
Yes.
What Adi said.
Yeah,
what Adi said
but maybe that'll be the smartest way to go around it.
Yeah.
But until then, feel free
Pending.
to find
Let's go with
my
pending.
Instagram.
It's pending.
Yeah, it's pending.
Feel free to find my Instagram. I don't know about you guys if you want to be found. No,
I don't mind being found. It's just my name is so long. Maybe.
Wait, the description of this.
What's your IG handle?
We can
tag
plug
you
it in
guys
on the Facebook, and then
Yeah.
on Instagram we should be tagged in.
Okay.
We'll try-
Description.
Description down below.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All of that jazz.
I love
Can I just
it.
say, this whole last section was a mess. But I love it. That was amazing. We'll definitely tag you guys in everything that we post, and the catch-up video that we'll post after this as well. Thank you so much to our panelists. This has been a really good discussion, and we always say 6 till 7-ish. This is more like 6 till 8-ish, but it's all right because
Never happens.
Yeah, we enjoyed this chat. So yeah, let's pray, and we'll Douglas, go on.
I was say brief. Don't worry, I'm not taking more time. I'll say, yeah, guys, Adriel, Chalaka, Kechi. I think you guys. This is the beginning of something for you guys. Thank you for sharing. Because funny enough, we had this topic for a while, and it was just like, so thank you guys for coming on, because now other people watching this, sharing this, will see just the reality of it, but also may inspire other people who maybe thought there wasn't a platform, maybe to share to you guys, even to us. So thank you guys for sharing. Those at home who are pastors' kids and you've been inspired. You've heard what they said. Feel free to reach out. You don't have to be alone. They want to be there for you. And by God's grace, we'll definitely keep that in prayer now as well, that in due time that you guys can come together, discuss, because this is real. This affects your lives, but your vision, where you want to go, amen. So just want to say thank you for all of us, just for coming on and creating this, because we wouldn't have been here without you guys. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy you guys chose this topic. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. You guys, I godsend. Appreciate it.
Praise God.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's been such a blessing. It's been so nice to share, and yeah.
Praise God. And it really helped us, that you guys know each other and you guys are brothers, because, we just sat back and was like, yeah, cool, this conversation will float. But yeah, let's pray and head out. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, I just want to thank you so much for this really insightful discussion that we were able to have. Lord, I just pray that you'll continue to be with Akechi, Chalaka, and Adriel, and everything that they're doing, everything that they put their hands to, and the ministry that they'd like to start, just supporting other pastors' kids, Lord. I just pray that you will help this to kickstart, that other pastors' kids out there will be able to join and be a part of it, and just make sure that they are not feeling alone in this journey. Lord, thank you so much for their lives, and thank you for their willingness to just join us on this panel. And I pray that you'll continue to bless each and every person who's watching and listening, and those that will be listening later on as well. Lord, we pray that as church members, that we won't put other people on a pedestal and just treat them completely differently, or just try and be spiteful or do anything to harm them, because we are all just one body, Lord. We want to work for the same goal, and I just pray that we'll recognize our need for you, and also that we need to show love and compassion to each other as well. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, and I pray that you'll continue to use the Common Room to reach people near and far. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
So that concludes this episode of It's Like Being a Pastor's Kid, the last evidence, I want to say episode series, whatever. Last evidence session that we are having. But we will still be having Let's Be Real once a month or twice if we're lucky. And the Common Room Connect will also continue every end of the month. So that's the last Thursday of the month. We have games. We sometimes do chill and paint. We basically, it's a place where we just hang out and chillax and just, you know, any other cool word that under the sun. So you guys feel free to come and join us as well. They will be, the next session will be, I can't remember, but the last Thursday of this month, we will be having the Common Room 27th. Thank you, Natalie. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for Chilaka, Ikechi, and Adriel for being part of this episode. Yeah, see you guys soon. Have a good night.